Chapter 8. The distance that grew between them. Jacob arrived at the park 5 minutes early because he liked to see where the conversations would happen before they did. It was the same park where the Juggernaut shed purple confetti over weekend picnics and soccer practices, where dogs tugged at owners in zigzags as if joy were a compass they didn't control. He chose a bench by the lake and watched the swan cruise through the ripples like a white arrow that had forgotten its target. He expected one man to show. That's what the text had implied. Bro, I heard about you through a friend. I need kind of like a straight talker. Can you meet tomorrow? Jacob had accepted with the usual warning that he gave strangers. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a specialist. I just give it as it is. Clarity. More people understood what that meant. The friend who referred him had used breakup artist with a grin and a wince. At 3:02 p.m., two shadows fell across the path. Jacob looked up to see a couple approaching together, walking in the cautious rhythm of people measuring the same distance differently. The man wore a baseball cap pulled low, sunglasses even though the sky was soft and overcast. The woman had the posture of someone determined not to fold under a weight she refused to name. They sat down, one at each end of the bench, leaving Jacob in the middle, like a hinge, also very confused, but also with the answer. So I guess it's both of you, huh? Jacob said. He kept his voice calm, steady. You could feel the tension between them like a cold draft or a valley between mountains. The man cleared his throat. I'm Cal. The woman blinked at the lake, then turned to Jacob. I'm Maria. And you must be Jacob, right? The one who helps people and things? Clearly? Jacob nodded once. I have helped people. Sometimes it comes to an end, but that's their choice. Sometimes I don't know, because I just give them the advice that I think they're seeking. And, I leave. I go back to my life, and they have to guide theirs. Cal out at a breath sounded like a laugh that forgot itself. Good, because I don't know what side I'm on right now. In the back of Jacob's mind, he thought this was already a done deal. Maria's hands were folded in her lap, a ring glinting, a modest band scuffled in a way that suggested years, not months. I told him I wouldn't come unless we did it together, she said. I didn't want to be assigned the villain in a story I didn't get to read. I don't assign villains, Jacob said. I listen, I ask, and then call the thing what it is, a spade a spade. You both deserve that much, at least. He paused, giving them space to agree to leave. Obviously, they stayed. Okay, tell me how long you've been together and living, and obviously looking at the distance between them, at arm's length. Maria's mouth twitched, not in a smile so much as in the memory of one. 2 years, she said. No, longer. We're planning our wedding and already sleeping on opposite sides of the bed. Cal looked past them at a father teaching his daughter to ride a bike, hands hovering behind the seat, not touching, the girl pedaling wobbly circles on the grass. Our first argument about this guest list lasted about a week. That probably should have been a clue for us, Cal said. Arguments are normal, Jacob replied, ignoring what he meant. Cal took off his baseball cap and placed it on his knee, revealing a faint tan line across his forehead. We kept telling ourselves our wedding will be it. It will be easy. It'll get us back to square one. But, no. Once we signed the lease, that's when we started seeing all the cracks in the foundation. It was one thing after another. Meanwhile, I feel like we're just roommates, who sometimes just remember to kiss each other and say, I love you, out of duty, out of expectation, not out of love. Mariah sucked in her breath. Sometimes, she repeated, not angry. Sometimes. Not always, I guess. I don't want to be an obligation you pencil in, as she looked at Cal. Jacob let the silence settle. People underestimate it. They treat it like it's an absence. It's really a tool. Inside, the truth climbs into that chair, and whether invited or not, it speaks volumes. When they began their stories, Jacob heard more than words. He heard the tally of years where nothing dramatic happened, and yet distance grew like ivy across brick. Missed dinners became habits due to work. Bedtimes never aligned due to schedules. The future they once pictured blurred into parallel tracks. Neither of them could name the day it began. Sometimes life just happens, Jacob thought to himself. Sometimes people grow apart without anyone breaking anything. Cal admitted in that moment he had grown bitter, resentful. I think about having kids, he said, staring at the water in front of him that he had brought. And I'm scared because, well, I just don't want to be having kids with someone I'm not going to be with. Being a father means showing up. But if I'm already not showing up as a man for Maria, what does that mean will I be as a dad? I won't be the dad who sits in the recliner scrolling on his phone, taking kids to baseball games, providing, putting food on the plate, on the dinner. I can't even see it anymore. Maria nodded slowly and pained. And I think about being a mother, about trying to be a role model. How do I tell my daughter she deserves love and respect if she sees me shrinking a little more every day? I don't want to teach my hypocrisy. They went on and on with more confessions spilling out. They talked about fights over money that neither could admit, fear of scarcity we can spend in separate rooms, him gaming, her on emails, or on apps, as she later declared. Both pretending it was rest. Intimacy scheduled, mechanical, and when it got to being intimate, it was far from it. Felt more like inmates, being locked up in a room together. Birthdays were presented as swapping of apologies instead of joy. It wasn't betrayal, it wasn't cruelty, it was erosion, steady, quiet, undeniable. Jacob listened all the while on until their words had run dry. Then he asked the two questions, the ones that strip everything away, no excuses. They both answered apart. And then he asked whether the version of love they longed for was with each other or someone else. Following that, silence swallowed the whole park. Seemed it swallowed the whole suburb, the whole state, the whole country, the whole world. It swallowed their world. Just at that moment, the only thing that relieved the silence was a nearby picnic. Half distracted while packing up, dropped a phone into a Bluetooth speaker. Connecting it onto the Bluetooth, the unmistakable opening lines of Gladys Knight and the Pips. A voice spilled out into the park, loud. The lyrics sang, "It's sad to think we're not going to make it." Maria's head turned toward the sound. Kyle shut his eyes. The lyrics hang between them like a mirror they hadn't asked to hold. Neither one of them wanted to be the first to say goodbye, but the song said it anyway. The track did the heavy lifting, calling out what they couldn't yet love, what they couldn't yet see, what they had become. Negotiating was no longer on the table. The chorus swelled and Jacob let the music do the talking. The lyrics said, as they sang out, neither one of us want to be the first to say goodbye. It thread through like the silence of a confession that neither of them could sign their name to. Cal's jaw tightened, Maria's shoulders curved inwards. They were listening to the music to themselves. They were listening to the reality that had avoided them for so long in those lyrics. Jacob finally stood up, giving them both the bench, the lake, the song. He said, sometimes, softly, love doesn't end in explosions. Sometimes, it arose in the quiet. And the brave part about it is just admitting it. The universe chose a soundtrack today. All that is left for you is to choose the ending. As Jacob walked away, he understood the refrain was they would follow the same path that he knew they were always destined to do. The words lingering in the air long after he was gone. He did not look back, but he knew behind him 2 people sat caught between memory and a decision, their silence speaking louder than any words that Jacob could say. And so the song sang out. Neither one of us want us to be the first to say goodbye.